Hello everybody, I am Magic Cookie, and welcome to this series on hacking for hackhouse.net. This is the first video. This is going to get you started. What I plan to do is plan to make a video and write-up series, so every video has a write-up to go with it on hackhouse.net, and that way you can either follow along with those pictures and that write-up, or you can follow this video here, or do both and use it as a reference later, the write-up. Whatever you want to do, but basically what we're going to be doing is a series that will take you from knowing nothing about really anything Linux, barely just being able to use a computer and installing a VM, all the way up to doing black box attacks and Wi-Fi hacking in just a few short videos. So this one today is going to be covering how to install Parrot OS on a VM using an OVA file, and it's going to be going over how to set up your VirtualBox or your VM, whatever you want to use it on. This will be using VirtualBox in this tutorial for HackTheBox, which is a site about pen testing and being able to attack boxes. I will go into more detail in a little bit. But basically we're going to be doing that today. In the next video we will be setting up, I'll be giving you an intro to Kismet and war driving and being able to do recon on Wi-Fi. After that we'll be going into Airgeddon and doing Wi-Fi attacks and how they work. From there we'll go into manual attacks, going through networks and pivoting, doing black box attacks, and so on. So that's the current course plan, and let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing you'll need are these four files. The first one will be the VirtualBox file. So if you come on over, the links will be in the description for all these sites. The VirtualBox for their downloads. If you're on a Windows platform, which is what this tutorial will be on, you're going to want to click Windows host, and that will start you a download for the exe to go ahead and install it. Also, while you're here, you want to go ahead and get the VirtualBox extension pack. So you want to click all supported platforms, and that will also get you a download. Go ahead and put those on your desktop or wherever you can easily find them, and we'll go ahead and get the next download, which is the OS. So we're going to be using Parrot, which is similar to Kali Linux. It runs on Debian, which is the kernel type. It's a Linux variant. It's like Ubuntu in the fact that it's easy to use, but it's made for everyday use. As you can see, they have a home workstation, and they also have a security and a few other builds if you're doing projects. We're going to be using the security version. So you're going to go ahead and hit download. Once you're on your page, you'll go to the download section. There'll be a link in the description directly to this page. Actually, so that way you can choose which download you want. We're going to be using security, so that way we have all our pen testing tools. So you're going to hit download, and then you're going to go to the security edition. There is a KDE, which is basically a little bit higher demand version of Linux. It's also the standard Parrot security. If you're installing this on a computer as the main OS or a dual boot, you'll want to use this. This comes with a live boot as well as the installer ISO. You can use this to do a VirtualBox. However, I found it doesn't really work that well. Updates tend to not work. The whole OS doesn't work very well on a VirtualBox. Go ahead and use their virtual appliance. They've made it. It comes set up. All you do is run it. You don't have to install anything. So go ahead and download it. I use a torrent because it's quicker. But you can download it however you want. Go ahead and get that. And then once you have that, you'll need the final thing, which is over here on HackTheBox. Now, HackTheBox, as a little intro, is, as you can see, it's Pen Testing Labs. So if we go ahead and log in, I'm already logged in, so it'll bring me to my dashboard. You'll see here's all of our things. So basically, if we come over here to the machines, we can see which ones I've owned, but we can just see all the machines. And what you can do is you can request access. They give you a VPN. They give you access to it. It is free if you want to do the active boxes. If you want to do the retired boxes, which are ones where people are free to give out the reports, they don't give you as much reputation, but they are really good practice. They're basically just VMs that they run as if it looks like a full computer. You're free to attack it and try to find vulnerabilities. Here you can see their difficulty rating. I'll let you go ahead and do some more info on that. We should have a thing on hackhouse.net soon if we don't already. It'll be a write-up explaining what HackTheBox is, how it works, and a good way to get started, and as well as a write-up on how to get started, because you kind of have to hack your way in to make an account, which is kind of cool. Anyway, so once you're here, once you have your account, you're going to come over to on the left here, you're going to come down to Labs, and right under Labs you see Access. You're going to go ahead and click Access, and it'll bring you to this page. Here you can see Getting Started, and it has instructions on how to do everything. It's very straightforward, but we're going to go ahead and click the hyperlink here, and it will give you a download for a VPN. So I already have it on my desktop, but it'll be a .ovpn, which is OpenVPN, which will be running in our Linux. So once you have those 3 files, we are ready to get started. All right, so now once you have all these files, we're going to go ahead and run the VirtualBox installer. Next, from here, I'm going to install it on a different hard drive because I do not have enough room on my C drive. So I'm going to come over to where I want to install it. I'm going to click the Create New Folder. I'm going to name it VM. Actually, I'm going to name it VirtualBox, because this is just where the installer will go. This is not where your virtual disk will go. This is just where VirtualBox will install itself. The storage for your virtual machine will not be here. Okay, go ahead and click Next once you've gotten it. Keep all these checked unless you don't want any of these shortcuts or things. It'll go ahead and warn you that it may disconnect your network interfaces. I found that if it does, I haven't been able to tell because it is so quick. I've been in a Discord call while doing it and it didn't seem to have any interruption. So go ahead and click Yes, Install, give it admin permissions. And go ahead and click Finish. And with that box checked, it'll go ahead and start. So here's what it'll look like when you first boot up VirtualBox. So as you can see, we have an import option. So we're going to go ahead and click that. And click the little folder icon to the right. And you're going to, wherever you have your Parrot Security OVA file, so the one you downloaded from the Parrot OS website, you're going to go ahead and find it. So in my case, I have it on my desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and click it and open. And you'll see that it filled in there. Hit Next. And here is your shows that your virtual system will look like. All these settings can be changed later. We're going to change a couple of them, but for now this is fine. Here is where your VirtualBox will be. So this is where your storage will be. So if you have a bigger drive you want to put it on, I believe a flash drive may work. I'm not 100%, but you should be able to use a flash drive. It should be fine. Just to make sure it's selected and in before you try to boot it. But I'm going to go over to my other drive and create a new folder. I'm going to call this VMs and select it. And once you've done that, leave everything else the same and click Import. This is the copyright and the agree to the GNU licenses. You can read through it if you'd like. Go ahead and agree to that. And it will go ahead and import. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up, and I will see you when it's done. Alright, so once it's finished, it will go ahead and bring you back to this screen. So as you can see, we have our OS right here. We can go ahead and boot it. However, we're going to change a few things. So as you can see, we have 4 gigabytes of RAM. I have a little bit more than that, so I'm going to go ahead and change that. To do that, we're going to click the yellow cog with settings icon at the top here. And then we're going to go to System. And here we can change our base memory. So this is your RAM. As you can see, I have 64 gigs of RAM. So I'm going to change this to be 32.7 gigs, so that's 32,700. That 700 will give a little bit of extra space, so that way it has space to do what it needs to. As you can see, it says I have 65.536, but 64 is what I'm using. So there's a little bit of space that it needs for itself. So just get a little bit over whatever you want it to be. If you have 8 gigs of RAM, I recommend using between 2 and 4. If you have anything over that, I recommend keeping at least 8 gigs for your system. Or halving it. So if you have 32, use however much you feel like. When I had 32, I usually used around 20 gigs, between 15 and 20. At this point, I just use half because 32 is plenty to run a machine on. So go ahead and hit OK. And if you want to change anything else, here's the place to do it, in that settings icon and system, processor, acceleration. These are the cores you want it to use. So I have 16, so I'm going to go ahead and up that to 8, so that way it'll be using 8. It'll be a little bit faster. And anything else you'd like to change on your acceleration. For me, all of this is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now before we start the VM, you're going to want to make sure that virtualization is enabled on your processor. For Intel, it's going to be Intel virtualization, also shown as VT or VT-X. For AMD, it'll be AMD virtualization, sometimes shown as AMD-V. If you're a visual learner, here's what they look like. So to do this, you'll go into your BIOS settings. Usually it'll be in the advanced options and then your CPU or processor, and you'll just want to turn it on. I'm not going to have a video directly on that. You can Google it yourself. If you have any issues, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments below. I don't know if I'll have a comment section on hackhouse.net or not. Either if there is one over there, I'll answer them over there as well. But it's very simple. Just go into your BIOS and turn on CPU virtualization. If you don't have it on, this will not work. Your virtualization needs to be on to be able to virtualize a machine. So once you've ensured that that is on, you're going to go ahead and hit start. Now I'm going to get an error, at least I should. Yeah, so here I get an error saying that the implementation of USB 2.0 controller is not found. So to fix this, we're going to go ahead and use the VM VirtualBox extension pack. Now if your machine booted, you don't have to worry about this. You can skip ahead. I'll have a timestamp in the description and on screen to where you can skip this. But if you do get this error, you're going to want to go ahead and just run the extension, double click it, hit install. You scroll down and agree to the terms. If you'd like to read them, you can. Give it admin access and let it install. And done. So now that you've done that, you can go ahead and start it, and it will boot this time. Alright, so if you just wait, it'll boot, or you can go ahead and just select the first option. You can go ahead and close any pop-ups. They're not very important to us right now. Now, here we have a VM. However, if you notice, if you try to full screen it, it doesn't full screen, and your left click may not be working. When this pops up, just go ahead and select your keyboard type. For me, left click is sometimes, I've had it in the past where left click didn't work for some reason. I could only right click. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go into our terminal. We're going to, it'll ask you if you want to check for updates. We're going to do it manually, so just click no for now. In the terminal, we're going to do sudo su, sudo space su. It'll be on screen. And what this is going to do is this is going to give us sudo access, which is the admin for Linux, essentially. It's the highest user. You can access anything and do anything. It's very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. But for what we're doing, we're just going to be updating. So go ahead and do sudo su. This will ensure that anytime you do a sudo action, you don't have to specify sudo, meaning you don't have to put it at the beginning of your command. Everything will just be run as sudo. Generally, you want to not do this because if you get hacked or somebody has access to your machine, they'll have sudo. But for now, what we're doing, we don't have to worry about that. And it's a virtual machine. Someone gets in, it's not going to be an issue. They'll be confined to the machine. So the default password for Parrot OS on the OVA file is tor backwards. It's root backwards. So root is the directory. It's like the admin folder. Sudo or root, they're interchangeable essentially. They're both just the highest level user. So it'll be TOOR. Hit enter. You won't see anything come up when you're typing it. That's perfectly fine. It doesn't Linux does not show when you type passwords in terminal to hide how long they are. If somebody is seeing it, it's a security measure. Once you do it, you'll see your location here. It'll say that it's home user. That's because this shows where. So the beginning of this is wherever your home file is. So up here we had this because we were a user, so the highest we could go was to the user file. Now that we're root, the highest we can go is the root file. So it goes from root home user. Up here, user just stays in user. They don't have any more privileges. So that's why this shows up. Now we're going to go ahead and do apt-get update. Hit enter and go ahead and let that finish. Alright, so once your update has finished, you'll see that you have some upgradable items here. We're not going to worry about that right now. We just want to get this VM up and running properly. So to do that, we're going to install guest editions. Now on a Windows machine, you can go up here to devices and insert guest edition CD image. What that's going to do is it'll essentially, the VM will see it as a DVD is being inserted with guest editions. You can go over to your D drive or whatever drive it opens on, run it, and it'll install. On Linux, it's a little bit, well, it's not more complicated. It's simpler because we have the terminal, but it's different. So to do that, we're going to do apt install y, tac y, whatever you want to call it, VirtualBox, tac guest, tac x11. So what this is going to do is this is going to install the guest editions straight from the source. So go ahead and hit enter. Alright, so during the installation, it'll ask you if it'll restart services during package upgrades without asking. These are just the repositories and different services that it uses. You're not really using any right now, and it's on a VM. It's not going to cut any of our connections, so we're just going to go ahead and use the arrow key to go over to yes and hit enter. Alright, now that it's done, we're going to go ahead and type reboot. Go ahead and exit out anything that pops up at the top there. So now on the reboot, you'll see that it has matched your resolution of your display. If you have it in this mode, you'll want to go ahead and, if you still have it in the windowed mode, you're going to want to go ahead and full screen it, maximize it rather. And that will bring it up to this. So now we have full access with your mouse. If it wasn't working before, it should be now, as well as the option to enable some things. So what we're going to do is we're going to shut down the machine. You can do that in terminal or just at the bottom left like you would a Windows machine, like you saw me do there. Alright, so now we're going to go to settings. We're going to go in the general tab, we're going to go to advanced. And here we have a share clipboard and drag and drop. They should both be set to bidirectional. If they are not, you can change it. You can also change it if you do not want this. So if you only want your clipboard, your copy paste, to go from your host machine, in my case it's the Windows one, the one that's out here running on my computer. That is your host. The guest machine is the VM. So host to guest, you can only copy things into the VM from your host machine. Here, you can only copy things into your host machine from the VM. And bidirectional, it goes both ways. So drag and drop is being able to drag a file from one machine onto the desktop of the other or into a folder of the other. So both of these we want bidirectional just to make it easier on ourselves. If you don't want these or anything, you can change them at your will. But for now, we're going to be keeping them on. So once you've ensured that that is running properly, we're going to go ahead and start back up into the VM. These notifications at the top are just letting you know about things. If you get this message when you click, you can just click this, do not show this message again, and capture. What this is going to do is it will capture your mouse, meaning it will sometimes, I believe, not let it out. It might lock it. All you have to do is press the right control to get that, to disable that, to get it out. So now that you're back in the VM, we're going to pull it down into a windowed mode, and we're going to drag our OpenVPN. So the OpenVPN file that you downloaded, sorry, I didn't realize it was on desktop. So the OpenVPN file you downloaded from HackTheBox, you're just going to drag it onto the desktop, and you'll see it pop in just like that. So once you've done that, you can full screen again, maximize. And you put this wherever you want. So for now, to make in the future, going forward, we're going to make this organized. So we're going to go ahead and create a folder. We're going to name this HTB for HackTheBox. We're going to go inside of it, and we're going to create a few more folders. So first is active. This is going to be the folder for your active machines, the ones that are new and will gain you reputation, the more difficult ones. We're going to create a retired machine. These are for retired machines. These have a lot of write-ups on them. They're good for teaching. They don't give you as much points, but they are good practice and good way to learn and good fun. And we're going to create a folder for files. So this is a place where you can neatly store different files you get, maybe your root files or your own files, whatever you want, miscellaneous essentially. And in this, we're going to go ahead and drag in your OpenVPN. So in my case, it's magiccookie.openvpn. So what we're going to do is once you have your OpenVPN file in here, so you've dragged it in, and your OpenVPN file is, here we're going to go into the terminal, and we're going to go ahead and navigate here. So we're going to do CD desktop. You can hit tab to autocomplete. We're going to do CD HTB. So CD stands for change directory, and what that's going to do is change us into different folders. So if we do LS for list, we can see the blue icons are folders we can go into, and the green ones are files. So here we can see that we're in this directory. You can see them here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do sudo su again. Go ahead and put in your password, and we're going to run OpenVPN, and then put a space, and then run whatever this file is. So here we see that mine is magiccookie.ovpn. The capitals do matter. So we're going to do magiccookie.ovpn. If you want, you can also copy and paste this by not doing Control-C, but Control-Shift-C, because in a terminal, you need to do Control-Shift, and then do a Control-Shift-V. That will copy and paste. So however you want to do it. If you want to type it, if you want to copy and paste, whatever you do, you're going to want to go ahead and do OpenVPN space your file name and hit enter. Alright, so once you see that sequence is completed right here, you can go ahead and minimize this window. In the future, we're going to be using a program called tmux, which is a terminal organizer essentially. It's going to allow us to be more efficient, and we're not going to have so many open terminals down here, but for now, you can just go ahead and minimize this window. Make sure it's open. If you try to close it, it will warn you that by closing this, a process is still running. You want to keep this open so that way your VPN stays open. So now if you want to, you can go on back on over to HackTheBox. Go ahead and log in. And if you want to start a machine, you can now do that. So with your VPN running on your virtual machine, I'm not in the virtual machine, it doesn't matter how you access this site. It can be on a host machine, virtual machine, phone, however you want to get to it. It's all through your account. So we're going to go ahead and just go to all. So say you want to rent this machine. So as you can see, it's already running for me. I've canceled it, but for some reason it's still running. So we're going to go ahead and do this one. So say you want to practice on this machine. So we're going to go ahead and click Start Machine. It says I already have a machine active. That's because this one is active. So once you click it, wait a little bit. It'll say success. Your machine has spawned, and you'll get this icon. So then you can come back on over to your VM. You can ping it. So right now we can see that this is the machine that's running for me. This is the IP address for it. So if we Control-C and copy it, and then come back over here and ping that IP address, you can see that we get a ping from it. So Control-C will stop anything going in terminal. If I would have let that go, it would go infinitely. But here we can see 0% packet loss, meaning the packets went through. We received 4 from it. The packets have gone through. The VPN is working. You have access to that machine. So now your virtual machine is set up and ready to go for HackTheBox or whatever else you want to use it for. I hope this helped. I hope you enjoyed. In the next video, we're going to be setting up Kismet, and I'm going to be doing a demonstration as well as a tutorial on ward driving. The only things you'll need for the next video are an external Wi-Fi adapter, and a bigger antenna is better. I'll have links in the description for that in the next video, as well as a GPS device. So you can get them for $20-30 on Amazon. Just a simple GPS device will work. And ward driving is this act of walking. We're walking, or ward driving, we'll be doing driving, is driving around and picking up Wi-Fi signals. Kismet is great for this because it can put it on a map for you, a global map like Google Maps. Google Earth is what we'll be using. And it can put it on Google Maps, and you can see the Wi-Fi access points, and you can see where they're located, and you could potentially go there and attack them. And if you're doing this in a penetration testing scenario, you'd probably walk around the campus of a large corporation or college, whatever you're attacking, and see what Wi-Fi is either open or maybe has vulnerabilities or is hidden, stuff like that. Now, that's what ward driving is, and in the next video, we'll be getting into that. But I hope this helps you. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next video or over on hackhouse.net. Thanks for watching.